Welcome to Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnished Finder, the place for everything midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
We are live with the Landlord Diaries back again for another great episode, guys. I think this one's really going to inspire you. We have so many inspiring stories that we just get excited to share with y'all. Kelly Bailey here, your host of the Landlord Diaries in the Austin, Texas and surrounding areas with 6 midterm rentals.
And hey everyone, I am Katie in the Denver area. Today we get to talk with Reid and Devana, and they have perhaps the most unique approach of any guest we have talked to thus far. They invest in not only a midterm rental that they built from the ground up as an additional dwelling unit on their personal property, that they rent to professional travelers, travel nurses, anyone who's looking for a monthly stay. But they also have sober living houses that they rent out on a monthly basis or longer. And it's so great to hear their personal stories and why they ended up doing things the way that they're doing them, and just how they've turned an investment strategy into such a community service project. And it's very inspiring, and they're just so creative and motivated. Everyone, no matter what you're doing to invest, is going to have something to take away from this episode. So please enjoy. And as a reminder, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review. It really does help us keep creating amazing content for everyone out there. And as another reminder, this episode and every episode is brought to you by Furnished Finder, where you can list your property and get unlimited tenant leads for $99 a year.
Today, we talk with Devana and Reid Stadelman. Devana and Reid are new to Furnished Finder, but they are not new to hosting. Devana was inspired to start the House of Courage Sober Living home when she lost someone very special to her in the fight with addiction. Devana and Reid have a unique investment strategy, renting beds in their sober living homes. Today's episode will focus on the process they took to design their new midterm rental space specifically with room rentals in mind. Devana, Reid, thank y'all so much for being here today. How are both of you?
Great. Thank you for having us.
I'm doing excellent. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Well, let's have some fun today. So my first question is for Devana. Why don't you start by telling us about the sober living homes and what inspired you?
Yeah. So, like you said, I lost somebody close to me with addiction. And at that time, I was really angry at addiction. And so I wanted to switch that mindset and turn that anger into helping people. So I decided to open a sober living home in 2014, and then a second one and a third one. And I absolutely love it. It's a strategy that most people probably don't think about, but it's for us, it's been amazing.
Awesome. Well, I would love to dive into a little bit. How do they work? Like when someone reaches out and says, "I've got a brother," or "I've got a friend," or "myself, I'm interested." So, what's the process for getting someone checked in and feeling at home?
It's pretty much the opposite of any other strategy. I don't do background check. I don't do credit check. I think because I've done it for so long, I just have a knack for hearing on the phone if they would be a good fit or not. Pretty quick, like in about 15 seconds, I can tell.
Wow.
So pretty much we just do a little phone interview. I ask the questions I ask, and then I tell them when to show up, and the manager does the intake and stuff. And I've really honed in on a specialty on feeling out if somebody is a good fit. So we have a very low turnover rate with our sober living home. Our people pretty much stay, on an average a year, but I have anybody from 6 months to 6 years that have been with me. And the guys and the girls in my homes are my first priority. So everybody that I bring into the house, I really want to make sure that they're a good fit so they don't rock the boat too much for those people. And we just, it's amazing. It's worked out pretty darn good.
I love that so much. So 15 seconds is all it takes for you to decide if someone's a good fit. That is impressive.
Yeah.
For those out there that are thinking about more of that nonprofit type route for the midterm strategy and really just going after something they care about, how do you figure that out in 15 seconds?
It comes with time, I think. In the beginning, it was a much longer phone call than 15 seconds. And then I would meet them first and I would go through a whole protocol. But after a while, I kind of figured out, very specific questions I could ask and just the way they answer. And it's just a gut feeling. I don't know how to explain it. So I was able to kind of shorten that process over the years. But I don't suggest that to anybody starting a sober living to just do 15 seconds. It's just kind of where it turned out for me.
So Reid, tell us a little bit about you guys' roles in the sober living houses and any support staff or additional staff that you guys have, because it sounds like you've got a lot of moving pieces.
Well, I would say ultimately we're kind of self-managing the process. So, but not completely. So we have 3 homes, and we have a manager that lives in each home. We also have an assistant manager that lives in each home. We're overseeing them, training them, making sure they're on task with things, and that's where the full-time management can. I shouldn't say full-time, but that's the management oversight that we have. They're doing the day-to-day stuff. So making sure people are coming into the house, at curfew, that they're not late, making sure chores are done, making sure that everybody's clean and sober, doing random drug testing and stuff like that. So there's some day-to-day activities we're not involved in. I think Devana can expand on that, on whether there's anything else specifically that you do, but Devana's dealing more with the management side of things. I tend to be more the background, numbers, construction, repairs, stuff like that.
Love it.
Utilities, that kind of thing.
We have 47 beds between those 3 houses.
Wow.
But between usually we can maybe go up to 50 during the month. So between 47 and 50 people in those 3 houses. So we basically rent out each bed instead of a room. So I kind of like to call it bed hacking. I don't know any other term for it, instead of room hacking. So it's definitely shared bedrooms. We have one house. One of our male houses has 20 men. One of them has 10, and our female house has 17. And then if we had to, if one leaves, another one comes, there could be up to about 50 people during the month that we deal with.
I mean, that's a significant base of tenants. That's huge.
Yeah, I guess part of the complication comes in making sure that everybody, like that many people in a single family home, are getting along, and that we're giving them appropriate space to use, that the common areas are friendly for a lot of people. So common areas are really big. You want to really make sure that you have enough room in the common areas so that everybody feels like they have a space or a piece of that. So I think that's kind of where.
Yeah, we do follow certain guidelines. No more than 6 people to a bathroom, no more than 4 people to a fridge. Like there are guidelines. They're not just shoved into a house. They're very big houses. We don't have any bunk beds. They all have their own space. It's very comfortable. We set up our houses. Our standard is we wouldn't put anything in those houses that we wouldn't use ourselves personally in our life, because I'm very big on hospitality, whether it's a recovering drug addict or somebody coming into my midterm, traveling nurse home. I actually do it very similar in terms of amenities and cleanliness and the way we set up the house.
I'm very intrigued by those guidelines. Like, to me, when I hear 17 girls in one house, I'm like, whoa, that sounds like a sorority with a lot of drama. But it doesn't have to be because of the way that you set it up. So one, how do you handle disputes when they arise, and what are those guidelines that you put in place to kind of help someone or help set the home up for success, to minimize those disputes?
Well, I will say this, I'm very big on detail, and I feel like thinking about all the small details, whether it's in any rental, right? Whether it's in a short-term rental, midterm rental, or what we do, which is kind of a hybrid, we have short-term, midterm, and long-term in our sober living, is looking ahead, looking at those details, and then minimizing the drama. So for instance, in the girls' house, I would say, they could probably take a long time in the bathrooms, getting ready, curling their hair, putting makeup on. So we looked for a very specific house that we could have one space, which is actually a big space, that could just be what we call like the makeup room. So we've set it up with the counter and all the lights, and there's mirrors. So there's different stations and all the right plugs. So there could be multiple girls getting ready, but it's kind of like, almost looks like if you're in like on a movie set or something where you walk into the makeup room. And that's actually one of their favorite rooms. It's where a lot of the socializing happens while they're getting ready. And so they don't have to spend a ton of time in the bathroom besides their shower. They have an area in that room where they can keep all their makeup and all of their hair things. And so that's really minimized the drama of the restroom type situation. When problems arise, we nip them super fast. I'm very big on don't gossip to your friends, go directly to the person that you have an issue with. Come to the manager if you're a person that has a hard time speaking up or using your words in a kind way. Come to the manager. We can help facilitate a little sit down with them. So we kind of just nip all that kind of stuff in the bud, I guess, pretty quick.
Two things. One, I could have used you this weekend. We rented a huge Airbnb with some friends, and it was 17 girls, and it was such a beautiful place. It had a heated pool. Like, we loved it. But there were only 3 bathrooms, that's plenty of bathrooms.
Yeah.
With one mirror, but that was the only mirrors throughout the house. They had no more mirrors. We're like, where is everyone supposed to get ready? So we had to just like plan it out. Okay, who's next?
Yeah.
And then on the, we were going to save this for later, but we're already talking about it. So let's dive into it. I really love, one of the main focuses, the 2 focuses for this episode is talking about the sober living homes, and then talking about how y'all chose to start your midterm rental from the ground up. Like, you didn't just find a place and then decide we're going to make it a midterm rental. You said, I want this to be another shared home that we get to design from ground one. So rather than waiting to have that conversation, let's continue that now. So what were some of those design things in the home that y'all ended up saying, you know what, we're going to do this on purpose because it's a shared space? I love what y'all said about the windows and the kitchen.
Yeah. So do you want to take this, or do you want me to start it?
If you want to start it, but I'll start it. So our ADU that we built is in our backyard or our side yard of our house. So we built a house on our property, and we don't have a large property. We're a little under a quarter acre of a lot, pie shaped. So anyways, we built that. And regarding the windows on that, we didn't want somebody looking into our backyard. We have a pool in our backyard. So when we're out there, we didn't want everybody looking into that. So we made sure that when we designed it, we designed all the bedrooms to have the windows out the front and the sides, so nobody's looking into our backyard. And then regarding the kitchen, we designed it to have two refrigerators instead of one. So because we have a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom ADU. And all the amenities are around, multiple people in there.
I think having the sober living homes, we learned a lot from having so many people sharing space. And it kind of bled over into building this ADU for our midterm rental, because we were able to think of certain things, that the details to take the drama away. So yeah, the windows, the refrigerators, and then each refrigerator is marked clearly with a room number. The rooms are clearly marked on the door. And then all of the cabinet space is clearly marked. So bedroom number 1 has their space in the cupboard and the refrigerator and their door lock on their room. So everything is very organized so that if someone were to come in, say there were 4 people, they all know exactly where their spots are, their spaces. There's no drama between people having to say, well, you have your stuff on my shelf and X, Y, and Z. So we kind of took those things.
So you have your sober living houses. You said you have 3, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you have 1 ADU that you use as a midterm rental. Do you rent, and you rent that by the room? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And are you renting that primarily to travel nurses?
Yes, actually, we just say travel professionals because
Sure.
I actually have gotten a lot of calls for different professions. But so currently right now we have a nurse in there and a construction worker. And it's kind of funny. Their schedules are perfect. Like she works nights. So he comes home and she leaves for work. And then he sleeps there at night and she's not there. Like, and then when he's gone during the day, she's sleeping. I'm like, wow, they're only in the same house, like maybe 2 hours a day. So their schedules are like perfect together. But
so tell us how you made that. I don't want to call it a shift, but an addition from, you had these sober living homes, and what made you also decide that you wanted to have a midterm rental? Was it more of an investment strategy? Was it a diversification? Like what kind of led you to that decision, particularly on your own property? Because that's a big commitment.
Yeah. So during the pandemic, we were looking for another house to do a sober living. And at that time, in California, at least, the prices of houses were astronomical. And if you could even find inventory for as big of a house as we wanted. So I thought that my memory was being in Switzerland and we were kind of hiking and doing something. And we were talking about like, what could we do next? And we were just racking our brains about not being able to buy another house at that moment. And I was like, why don't we use what we have? And I looked at Reid, I'm like, why don't we just build a house in our backyard? He's like, okay.
I said, okay, but it's not possible. We don't have enough room. What are you talking about?
So I'm like, just the way Reid and I work, we just don't take no for an answer. We figure it out. We look at every which way possible. And I said, well, because it would be in our backyard, how about we don't do a sober living home? How about we just do like midterm, just take the middle part of what our sober living home is. Don't do short term, don't do long term, but just take that middle part out and have people in there midterm. And it's great. Actually really amazing because it's on our property, but the way we designed it has its own walkway, its own entrance. My first nurse that was here, I never met. She was here for over a month. I never saw her one time. And it was just because of how it's formed on our property. Mm-hmm. So it really just feels like we have a neighbor. It doesn't feel like there's this intrusive thing on our property. Right. And it's really nice because every time I have to go do something in there, I just walk around the corner and I'm there. I'm like, this is so nice. I don't have to get in the car and drive anywhere. I don't have to, do a lot around that. So it's been actually pretty. Yeah,
we have the privacy of our own home and we have the availability to go, drop off supplies or whatever by walking around the corner. So it's like best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. How big is that?
It's 1,200 square feet.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
I'm just thinking about my own lot here and I'm on about a quarter of an acre and I'm like, where in the world would I?
Well, I have Reid tell you how we built it and how we were able to have the room for that.
So to expand on something Devana said earlier, we're in Switzerland hiking. We're talking about this. She said, you got to do this. We got to do this. It's like, it sounds great, but we don't have any room on our property. We have a pool in our backyard. There's like no room. So we came home, we're looking at it, and Devana doesn't like to take no as an answer. I don't either, but she's a pusher. So we're looking at our backyard. She's like, no, just put it all right here. And I'm like, 1,200 square feet. So let me step back really quick. If anybody's familiar or not familiar with the rules for an ADU, you're not allowed to build larger than 1,200 square feet. And in some, as a detached ADU, there's attached, which is attached to your home or part like built onto your home. And there's detached, which is a separation. They're totally separate buildings. So in our city, 1,200 square feet is the maximum they allow. And federally, that's the maximum. Some cities on a detached will only allow up to like 1,000. But anyways, So we're looking at it in the backyard, and we could kind of, I looked into the setbacks from the city. So I went to the planning department, checked out what our setbacks required, the distance from the edge of the property that you have to build from. And we sketched out in our backyard, well, we could possibly get like 600 square foot, and that's it. There was like nothing else. And it was like kind of an odd shaped building. And Devana's like, no, we're doing 1,200. I'm like, I don't understand. So we're like, okay, well, let's double this thing. Let's go 2-story. And so we have a single story house, and we're like, all right, well, let's go 2 stories. So we went to the city, and I would suggest if anybody's deciding to build something, you need to go talk to the building department and planning department before you really start planning stuff, because they were trying to throw wrenches at things that we were trying to do. I believe that they did not want us to have an ADU. In fact, at one point, it felt like they did. The planning department guy I was talking to was like, yeah, it's not really something we want, but the law is there, so we can't tell you no.
Well, let me just interject too. We were the first ones in our city to build an ADU.
A detached
ADU.
Yeah, nobody else has built one.
They were kind of like, what do we do with these people?
Yeah. So anyways, looking into it, they were like, yeah, no, they were just telling us like, no, you can't do certain things over and over again. But the not take no for an answer mentality, we kept finding creative ways to get around things. So we said, okay, we're going to do a 2-story ADU. And they're like, well, you can't, because you have a single story house. You can't build taller than the top of your house. The highest point of your house can be the highest point of your ADU or your second story. Like, oh man, how do we do that? Well, we have 9-foot ceilings in our house, and we're like, okay, we're going to go 8-foot ceilings, but it was still too tall. And so then we thought, they're like, well, you have to add a second story to your primary house. We're like, oh my gosh, that's super expensive. It was just not feasible at all. So we decided, let's go down. So we decided, let's go 3.5 feet down into the ground for our base floor and do a 2-story. And, doing some calculations with an architect, we were able to realize that we can make that work. So, yeah. So
you've
we
got
have
like a sunken house.
Yeah.
That's
so
like subterranean.
Cool.
Yeah, we got like 3 steps down into, and then you go into the house. So we were able to find a way around it. They did not realize that was an option. We didn't either. I mean, Devana's a pusher. She was like, no, I don't care. I'm 1,200 square feet. You're going to make it happen. So
that's right.
I love y'all's tenacity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways,
That's right.
When we finally realized that we could make 1,200 square foot work, then we really started to put into it everything that we wanted. So some of the amenities were like, we're familiar with, cleanliness in bathrooms. And so we wanted to make sure that everything is floating in the bathrooms. So the cabinets are hung off the wall. The toilets are hung off the wall. There's nothing touching the ground. So you can just run a mop in there, super quick, done. You don't have to get on your hands and knees around the back of a toilet if you're cleaning. It just makes everything super easy in there. So that was something you kind of have to do, running pipes up through the wall instead of through the concrete or the subfloor and everything. So it was a little bit different. But
it's such a luxurious look too. But like besides the luxury side of it, it sounds like it's more, it's easier to clean as well. That's so nice.
Definitely. Yeah, it's definitely kind of like a modern appearance or look that we have, but totally, we did it based on functionality, and it turned out to be a modern look. So
y'all have given me
That's
so
amazing.
many great ideas because my Temple house is coming up. It's been rented out through an insurance claim for almost a year now. And so it's coming around, and we didn't even have to furnish it. It was one that I was marketing it before we closed, and basically had a commitment the day of close from this insurance company. And I was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be able to furnish it for like 2 weeks. Is that okay? Or, how would you like to do that? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll furnish it through court. And so we don't even have our own furniture in there. I will say I'm not happy that we had to get a storage unit, but sometimes you have to do it like if you have good quality stuff, right? So we're just waiting to be able to move our stuff in when it comes time. And I've toyed with entire unit or room rentals. And y'all have really inspired me because it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with an ADU in the back. That's a spacious ADU. It's 600 square feet, 1 bedroom. Like there's plenty of space, and it's got a really nice front porch. So with the flow of the shared backyard and the laundry facility being in the house, I was like, it would be a really nice room rental setup with 4 rooms available, essentially. So
Nice.
I really enjoyed the fact that y'all have 2 refrigerators and you divide the kitchen so that everyone has their own space. If we go the room rental route, I am totally doing that, and I'm sure I'm going to be calling you guys for a lot of advice.
Go for it.
But how do y'all handle the doors, like for safety and making sure everyone thinks that their stuff is secure?
So we have on the front door and in each bedroom we have an auto lock or a digital lock. So before they show up, both of those are digitally coded to a 4 or 6-digit number for each guest. So that is done automatically through hospitality and
Hospitable.
hospital.
Hospitable is hospitality. Yes.
So everything is super automated.
Wow.
And so when they come in, an hour before they arrive, it's keyed or coded to their number, and then hour after they leave, it's removed so they can't get back in if they wanted to. So they have their room is totally separate, private. Nobody can get into that except for them with their key code. Front door lock has multiple code options, so everybody has the ability to get in with their own code.
For us, that's work because we love to travel. Like we'll just go on some crazy adventure around the world, and that was really important for us to not have to be there to hand a key over or to go physically program something in. We could be in Africa somewhere, and we know that their codes are all programmed, and they can just get in very easy.
Well, and that's super safe too.
Yep.
We actually put a digital lock on our latest rental, and it was a little bit of a splurge. I was like, I'm going to spend $200 on a lock. But it has been worth it because I can see if the door is locked or not, which makes me feel good for safety. I can also set it to auto lock so that I don't have to worry about, say, the nurse going to work forgetting to lock it and then the apartment is unsecure. I also can give a temporary code to a repair person that's only good for a couple. It's really nice to have the control because for me, that property for me is 2 states away. So I get what you're saying. Even across the world, you feel like you kind of have a handle on it without having a camera or something that would be intrusive to privacy. It gives you a good handle on the management.
Yeah.
So I'm
100%.
very intrigued on the hospitable side of that because did they have you buy a certain set of locks? Logistically, how does it work?
Well, we actually bought the locks before we realized that was even an option. There are various manufacturers that Hospitable connects to. So you might want to look into that before you buy a lock. Ours just happened to be one of them that they deal with. So
okay.
I know that when you're looking for digital locks, there's a handful of manufacturers or more, and they all have different. What's the word? Where you can see on your phone or on your computer what's going on.
App.
Different app availability. So you might want to look into how that interface is before you make a decision on which one you're going to buy. So I can tell if the door was left open. The front doors, somebody didn't close it all the way. My app will tell me that it's ajar, and so you can have you tell them, hey, this didn't get locked or whatever, or the housekeeper goes out and forgot to lock it. We don't have the auto lock function on because we don't know how many people are coming in and out. But if somebody leaves it unlocked, I can just hit a button and it's locked. They're just so nice to be able to have all those options.
So logistically on the process side, is it when a certain auto message goes out, that's when it triggers a relock, or when is the relock triggered?
You mean every time they leave the house, or
no, when they move in and move out, and the lock and the code is actually changed? Is that something y'all go onto the app and change,
No,
or is it automatic based on? is it based off like a specific message that
Yeah,
is
it's based
sent or
off
what?
of their check-in and check-out time.
Okay.
So when they check out, an hour after they check out, it automatically erases it. And an hour before they check in, it automatically programs it.
That is so cool.
You could have it whenever you want.
You can do 5 hours before or the day before or whatever, but you don't really want to have somebody else with the availability to get in, or your tenant to come in a day early and get in. You don't really want that either. You just you set that up. There's a lot of options. It's really easy to use.
I love that.
I will add too that a smart lock is not the place to try to save a penny.
No.
Okay. This is not, and I learned this the hard way. This is not the place, the time to get a brand you've never heard of that might be on sale on Amazon that you may or may not have to install and then have to uninstall and return because you thought you were saving a buck.
No, I agree
Don't do
100% with you.
Get a brand name one. It's so much easier.
Yeah, we had a friend that just bought one. It was a similar deal. They got theirs at Home Depot, but they didn't get the most expensive one. And basically, they have to undo the back and manually change a code every time, as opposed to wirelessly connect. So, that's you need to check out your functionality before you purchase.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, this has been a fun conversation. Y'all have so many great tools and resources in place, and you went about it from the ground up. You decided this is, here's what we want to do. Now, how do we make it happen? I love that. So those of you that are thinking about adding an ADU in the backyard, take advice from Devana and Reid and have tenacity. Just go for it and figure out the challenges along the way. So speaking of one of those challenges, it's like, how do you fund these type of projects, especially a 4-bedroom, 1,200 square foot ADU in your backyard? Like, how did that work?
Well, so I work for a living as a W-2 employee, right? And I've had a 401k that's just been sitting there, and I'm thinking all the time, man, I'm putting money into this, and it fluctuates a little bit and everything with the market and the economy. And I thought, why do I want to wait until I'm 65 years old to be able to utilize any of this? So I started looking at it, and there's a couple different options you have. You can actually pull a loan out against that, against your own money. So I think the maximum on that's like $50,000 is what you can loan against yourself. And basically, when you pay yourself, you have to pay interest on it. And when you pay interest, it actually goes back into your account. So you actually gain money in there. But we didn't like the idea of having all that in there. We're very confident in what we're able to do. And on the investment side and real estate, making, a profit today as opposed to 20 years from now. So we decided to liquidate that and then use some of the funds from that to build this. Even though, and doing the research on all that, there still is a 10% loss that you have to take if you liquidate that before 65 years old. But we felt strongly in what we were doing that, I'll just take a 10% loss right off the top. I had to pay all the taxes for that large amount that we took out. But then we were able to use a portion of that to help fund.
I actually am really happy we did that. We did it just in the nick of time before lots of things went down. We probably would have lost more than 10% of that
100%,
anyway. So
not
100%.
Yeah. So we feel like we made a good decision on that one.
Yep.
Awesome. And so how much did the project end up costing, and what is your desired profit margin as you keep going in this process?
So the project, there's definitely, it cost a little bit more than what we originally anticipated. The total cost all in for everything was around $360,000. That included furnishing, that included improvements to our property. So we did some improvements to the front end of our house to really tie in the modern look of the second home that we built on the property. So
landscaping, painting for the main house. We made it all cohesive.
But we wouldn't have done any of that if we didn't start this other process. So we tried to lump all that together. It's money spent regardless. So that's the way we look at it. That being said, we're looking at like a approximately 15 to 16% cash on cash return right now with where we're at. And
we're just a month and a half into it, guys. We just opened.
That's amazing.
A month and a half, 2 months ago. Yeah. So our goal is to hit like at least
about 20%. I think that's a realistic goal. Yeah.
And I think you guys are very prepared for the fact, just based on talking to you guys, there's ups and there's downs, and there's times where, supply and demand are in different places, but I think your expectations are very reasonable, and it sounds like you have everything very thought out.
Well, I'm going to say this to anybody who's listening and who's starting, because it's scary to start a new strategy or start an investment that you don't know how it's going to be. There's nothing that tells you like you're guaranteed this, or you're, and like Reid said earlier, I'm a pusher, and I'm like, go, 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 go. Let's do this. And I have a really hard time. I struggle with just allowing space and allowing to learn and really getting into it. So my first month, I have to be honest, like I struggled with, I need it filled the first day it opens, and, like getting really intense about it. And in fact, I think an hour after we posted it, we had our first nurse. But
that's great.
Thank you, Furnished Finders, because it came from Furnished Finders. But I also then was, felt really intense for that first month. And over the last couple of weeks, I've really learned like this is a learning process. This is learning a new business and setting up all these automations that we don't have with the sober living, and allowing myself to really just learn and get my footing without being scared or nervous. And it's just now it just flows, and you get the next one and the next one, and it just comes. So don't be too hard on yourselves the first 6 months of opening something. Like let it unfold naturally and happen.
I think we forgot how difficult it was in the beginning with the sober living, like any real estate or business venture, there's that initial struggle. And it's hard to not get caught in the moment, and you have to step back and look at that bigger process and where you're going. So it's difficult when you're in the moment.
Awesome. Okay, well, we have to get Reid to work on time because, like you said, he's got a W-2. So I have
We're working on getting him out of that.
I've got one more quick question. But first off, just a reminder, hey, if you're going after more that heartfelt, like inspiring type of midterm rental, Devana and Reid have chosen sober living. But don't forget, like there's Section 8 housing, there's homes for the homeless, there's single moms and dads. So you can go after midterm rentals in a different type of strategy if that's your goal. And as we can see, wow, how inspiring it is, but from what we're hearing from Devana and Reid today. So let's end with Furnished Finder and KeyCheck favorites. And y'all, like you said, you've only been on the site a month and a half. So for that, setting up your listing and going through the initial process of joining Furnished Finder, all that's still fresh on your mind. What advice do you have for those coming in, getting started?
Really make your site put details in there. Make it very clear for a nurse who's looking. I see a lot of sites and they're like one room, blah, blah, blah. But, list your amenities, list what they're going to get. So when they're on the site, it's so clear. I've had the one nurse that just moved in yesterday. She's like, everything's so clear. Like I could just go in there and I know where everything is, how to do everything. So you don't get a bunch of messages asking 1,000 questions because it's already so clear on the site. Second thing I would say, we have 4 rooms. So we took advantage of listing each room. Yes, you have to pay for each room, but it's like $99 for the whole year. And it makes it so much easier for me because I have so many other people to manage in our portfolio that I don't have to remember, okay, well, this one's coming in and let me have it written down somewhere because I only have one site. So listing those 4 bedrooms now, it makes it easy with, the calendars and all of that to keep it clear for us.
And I think, did you use the unit feature on Furnished Finder?
So how do you we posted each unit. I mean, we listed each. Yeah.
So you didn't do 4 entire units. You did one.
We did.
You did one rental and then added units to it. So how do you like the functionality of the unit feature?
I really like that, and I think it helps everybody that looks on our site see exactly each bedroom. And actually, when you do it that way, it's a little bit cheaper, right? For people to, it's not $99 for each room. It's a little bit lower for each room. So it actually was very affordable. And it just helps so much with my calendar and making it clear and having them be able to see every single room instead of me saying, well, I have another room that looks like this you can come into, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Katie, any last questions?
No, I don't think so. It was so great to talk to you guys. And I love how you have implemented multiple strategies, all of which I think are really serving your community and making an impact, all while doing things that you're clearly very passionate about, and turned that into something that can serve your own family. It's so great to see. And I think it's going to definitely inspire some others to look into some creative ways to make real estate work for them. Because if I have one word for you guys, it's that you're just so creative. And it's great because there isn't just one way to do this.
Yeah.
And there's not one way to do it right. What's important is that you do it with passion and commitment and integrity. And you guys clearly have all that. So thank you for everything you're doing and pouring into your community. And it was just an honor to speak with you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Katie.
I don't know if you guys want me to give out like my Instagram if anybody has.
That's what I was going to say.
Please.
Yes.
Okay. So you can find me at Investing Mama on Instagram, or
now tell me, how do you spell mama? Because
MAMA.
Okay, because I'm like MAMA.
Yeah. So Investing Mama, or B Organic Mama, which is BEE, like the little B, and then Mama's MAMA. So B Organic Mama or Investing Mama, and those are on Instagram. And once you get on my Instagram, you can go on my link tree and find my Furnished Finder link and all of that stuff.
I love following you on
living.
Facebook. Like it's Devana Kame, CAME on Facebook. And she has the most inspiring reels. So if you want like some fun pep up music for the day with a story of her real estate journey and how she's been inspired and where they're traveling to next, like her Facebook reels are a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, thank you. I don't even know my Facebook handle by heart. So I guess it's at Devana, DEVANA, CAME. I'll have to link that to my link tree too.
Yes, that would be good. Well, we appreciate y'all being here. Reminder, if you enjoyed this episode or are loving our show, please don't forget to subscribe, like the episode, and we would truly appreciate your 5-star reviews on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. So until next week, and we just thank you all for being here.
Thank you guys. Bye.